Hello, Dan Brown. I think you know who I am. Now, I watched the video, Should I Quit Dan 3.0? Well, I didn't watch that video. I watched the video response, which was the video response to that video, the second one, and I'm not typically a viewer of Dan 3.0, but I still want to make a video response. There were a couple of things about this video that kind of raised red flags, things that you said. To paraphrase, you said, I have the greatest job in the world, I need to stop being such a wuss. When you said this, it kind of raised a red flag. Now, I wrote a little thing on Microsoft Word. It's 2 pages long. I'm going to read it to you. Here we go. Now, I may contend that your job is neither good nor bad. And yes, you do get to do what you like to do. But don't other people who are in the same situation, they get to do what they like to do, maybe they don't have the same problems caused by the stress of your job. Other people who do not have an audience that you have, who do not have the stresses you have, who do not have the pressures that you feel to continue this job. Many of us would crack under this pressure, including me, and I think that you at least have the right to be stressed out. Dan, people get stressed out all the time. Factories around the globe aren't enraged. Dan Brown, the complainer. And for God's sakes, you don't deserve to get punched in the face. And here's why. Because the reasonable presence of a human's stress is not a measure of the sum of his or her reasonable stressors. And reasonable stressors are things, they're things which you have the right to be reasonably stressed about, such as a lousy job or an earthquake, etc. Now, if the reasonable presence of the stress was in fact measured by the things which are supposed to cause the stress in normal humans, then the people with anxiety disorders could not find their stress to be reasonably present, thus making it so that their stress is unjustifiably present. But honestly, do they have a choice whether they feel the stress or not? And the answer is no. Therefore, to me, this makes their stress justifiably present, although what they feel stress about is not justifiable. It's irrational. Now, these people don't have a choice, and honestly, neither do you. You feel the stress, and the presence of your stress is justifiable. So then be stressed out. Just be stressed out all you want, and be happy about the fact that you're stressed out, even if that stress is paradoxically caused by the fact that you're unhappy about your stress. Be happy about that. For the sake of me and your hundreds of thousands of viewers, accept your stress. By doing so, you are accepting the fact that you should not be punched in the face by factory workers who are pissed off at you because you're complaining so much. And you just shouldn't get punched in the face. This seems abundantly clear to me. Now, Dan Brown, assuming that you are a human being without an anxiety disorder, your stress may not be present for completely irrational reasons. There is certainly something within your life which is perhaps causing stress, and whether it be your job, and I don't know if this is the case, but theoretically, here's what might be the cause of your stress, assuming that your stress is not being caused by a situational factor. It may be that you have attitudes or perceptions that are skewed and that simply need help in changing.
If one was to put together a montage of all the complaining and whining I've done about the stress of Dan 3.0 over the last 8 months and show it to someone who has a real job in like a factory or something, they'd probably want to punch me in the face, and I'd probably deserve it.
Then I will make the prediction that if these attitudes or perceptions are not acknowledged, then you will find yourself in the same trap that you were before with Dan 3.0, the problems. Now let's talk about this trap. Stress interferes with the abilities to function properly given certain tasks which vary greatly given the type of stress, its causes, and the individual, etc. I would warrant that a reason Dan 3.0 has had problems in the past is because the man who's in charge of Dan 3.0 has had stress interfering with his career. There is very little that you could have done to prevent this stress from its interference with your life. Also, as far as complaining goes, please, complain all you want. And so what if you do? I mean, what'll happen? Honestly. Could there be any bad coming from complaining? I mean, I say that for fuck's sake, let's complain together. It's probably healthy for us anyways, to express those thoughts. You say, quote, that your job is the greatest job in the world.
I have the best fucking job in the world, and it's time I started acting like it.
But what exactly makes this job so spectacular? What qualities give it this title? Is it true that It is true that you get to do what you like to do, but is this achievable without the stressors of Dan Brown universe? And if so, then you can just quit your job. Fantastic. But why aren't you quitting your job? Why aren't you gonna quit your job? And this is a very interesting question. Ren's comment, the one that just tells you to stop bitching, I hate it. I just plain hate it. It's too simplistic and it's fucking stupid. Ren's tells you to stop bitching and to be the change that you want to be. My response, which is directed towards you, Dan Brown, is that for you to have not enacted the change you wanted earlier, there must have been some force opposing your abilities for the change. What is this force? And as long as my question remains unanswered, then I officially brand Rand's comment as simplistic, misleading, and just plain manipulative. Perhaps this force is the stress I spoke of earlier. Perhaps it's a crummy situation in which you have been placed into. Perhaps it is spawned from deceptive attitudes and perceptions unknown even to you. I don't know. Renz is an idiot, and you deserve better. I once heard a quote from Einstein, and I will paraphrase it. The only stupid person is the one who expects there to be change whilst continuing to repeat the same things or to be the same. And perhaps Ren's comment is misleading you into being this same stupid person. Not that you're stupid, but to take Ren's advice is to be this stupid person. To try to change while doing the same thing is stupid. The attitude of just toughening up and somehow I'm going to try harder and that'll solve all my problems, that doesn't actually solve any problems. It just creates problems. My best wishes for Dan 3.0 are not only for there to be change in the behavior of Dan Brown to enact the principles which he were enlightened, to enact the insights that Dan 2.0 was the shits. I also wish that Dan Brown himself be the advocate for his own change and for the discoveries which lead to what we could call the metaphysics of the problems of Dan 3.0. And these metaphysics are important. But whatever you do, please don't listen to Renz. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. Dan Brown, I am telling you that you had every right to be stressed out. And I personally forgive you for the apparent mess-ups of Dan 3.0. Now, I haven't watched much of Dan 3.0. I haven't noticed any mess-ups, but if they were present, whatever. It's okay. Your life is what it is. There's no reason to